these are quite important. And this is also going to be put within the context of the multi-stakeholder model, which ICANN has, and which is also something that we find quite good for the internet governance. So these are our area of focus. I don't think we have time to go deeper into the different projects. Next slide, please, Brian.
Yeah,
thank you. So I'll pause here with this quick introduction of the CDA, and then hand over to my team to conduct the whole discussion about
exactly. For those who didn't join on time, exactly, the Vice President just shared with us more about the Coalition for Digital Africa. He mentioned the key pillar of the CDA. So we'll have the link, the URL of the CDA to have more information about what the Vice President shared with us. So we'll put the link in the chat room for those who didn't connect on time. So now we don't have too much to share as slides so that we have an interactive discussion, the second part of the session. So I want to hand over to our Corel and colleague Darrell Lewis, who is going to talk about the topic, the DNS and the ICANN managed root server. Again, if you want the interpretation in French, please type your phone number. We'll be sharing the link for the coalition soon. Thank you, Wafa, for asking the question. And Darrell, over to you, Darrell.
Yes, thank you, Yobi. Hello, good evening, good afternoon, good morning, depending on where you're dialing in from. My name is Daryl Lewis, and I'm an engineer here in the DNS engineering team with ICANN, and we're responsible for the ICANN managed root servers infrastructure. And I'm going to have a few comments today about what we do, the services that this root server provides, as well as how you can see if your organization qualifies to host one of our instances. So let me just begin with a very short overview, and also let me introduce an initial remark. And that initial remark is that if there's questions that go beyond the time that we have today, feel free to reach out to Yobi or any of the other panelists here, and we can organize a follow-up call where we answer any specific questions, again, that we may not have time for today. So with that introduction, let me just speak briefly again about the DNS and about the IMRS systems in general. So as I'm sure many of you know here from working with DNS day-to-day with the internet, the DNS is a directory that provides an answer to the question, and the question is, where is a particular human readable name? And in this example, we have an English name called eat.example.com. Through the directory, this hierarchical directory, we receive an answer of what machine that your client needs to connect to answer that question, to get to the content that you're asking for. So DNS then becomes a piece of critical internet infrastructure. If DNS is not working, then it's very likely that the users will think that the internet is not working. So the domain name system then is an open and public system that is client server based. In other words, server based. Users have clients. Users have clients. The authoritative servers answer client requests. So the users can find the services that they need to use the internet. The center of that system, if you will, the part that allows it all to work, is referred to as DNS root servers. So they hold the root zone database. The root zone database is very important because it allows for the entry of the system, so everyone is able to find the answers that they need. It's a common, well-known starting point. And root servers are deployed worldwide by multiple organizations. There's 13 organizations that host root servers. ICANN is one of those 13. We call the ICANN root server the ICANN managed root server, IMRS. Today we have over 180 locations around the world, and I want to talk a little bit about the global deployment next. Go ahead and advance the slide, Brian. So here you see a recent map of the IMRS locations around the world. And you can see that we have locations on every continent. We have locations in Antarctica, and we have instances in almost every country. Now, what we expect to be able to do is provide services in case of any eventuality. Services in case of any scenario where there is a natural disaster or any other interruption of internet service or internet connectivity. We expect that by distributing our root system very widely, that at least some piece of it will be available to users in any given geography. You'll also note that we have 16 instances today on the continent of Africa, and the specific project that we're talking about is to encourage operators of networks in Africa to consider expanding that number. Thank you. Next slide, please. Thank you. Next slide, please. This is interesting. We advanced from slide 6 to slide 9, so I'm wondering if there's some hidden slides here. And if could you back up and maybe, I see we're at 8, 9, I see. Okay, let's go ahead and move to slide 9, please. Okay, great. So let me just talk through some of the characteristics of a internet host that would be available here to help us out. So the characteristics of a host that we're looking for is that they connect to the wider internet with BGP. The IMRS system is anycasted through each network via a common autonomous system number. It routes IPv4 and IPv6 addresses. And of course, the hosts should implement very common security best practices. We will ask you to sign a non-disclosure agreement and an IMRS hosting agreement with ICANN. We also recommend that you purchase and connect with the authorized hardware appliance. So all of these IMRS systems are exactly the same. So we use a common hardware, and then we periodically refresh that hardware as technology advances. So the host then provides the connectivity, the power, and the rack space, and ICANN DNS engineering provides the operational management day-to-day for the system. You can find more information about all of this at the following URL, and I'm sure we'll have further discussion about this in the questions and answers section. I do want to go back to slide 9, Brian, if you don't mind, because I do want to talk through this slide. Sorry. I mentioned before just now that the DNS engineering operates and manages the system, this host. And the organization provides the space and hardware. When we are looking for this, as what essentially is happening here is that the host organization is donating this connectivity and hosting environment for the benefit of the wider organization, of the wider internet. So it's not just helping your organization; it's helping all of the systems in the internet, specifically those in Africa in this case, where we can drive additional resiliency and capacity to the internet infrastructure. So I just wanted to make that point there, is that by assisting us with this, you're not only helping yourself, but you're helping the broader internet as a whole. Thank you. Thanks, Brian. You can advance to slide 11 now. Great. And this just reinforces the comments that I made about the benefits. And I believe that covered this in general. Thanks, Brian. You can advance again.
Thank you very much, Darrell. So you can see that Darrell he provided the key element to us because we want to discuss, to hear from you on what you want to know more during the next part of this session. What he briefly said, the network part, he mentioned something that the network part is important because you are going to host. He mentioned that there is a document that need to be signed between ICANN and your organization. He mentioned the purchase of the equipment. That is also important. So you'll see that this project is trying to help in the purchase aspect also. But please, they will confirm, my colleague will tell you later that you should plan to replace the equipment later. And also, Dry concluded by mentioning that the last stage is the host of the equipment. So everything is managed from ICANN side. I saw a hand up, but we'll give you the floor after the presentation from Brian, who will give more information about this call. So I want to hand over to Brian Goodman for his presentation. Brian, over to you.
Thank you very much, Yauvi and Darrell, for that great presentation. And what I want to just highlight here is a current ongoing open call for expressions of interest to be that next IMRS singles host in Africa. And as Darrell talked about a little bit, this is, again, a part of the Coalition for Digital Africa initiative. And ICANN is seeking out new partners to work with us to host an IMRS single. So we hope that perhaps some of you on today's call, or perhaps if you are watching the recording of this later on, that if you are a Africa-based organization, maybe an internet service provider, a enterprise network, perhaps a university, or maybe if you run an internet exchange point, you may be interested and well qualified to work with us to host an IMRS single. There is also some limited financial support available for qualified hosts, qualified prospective hosts who submit their information and expressions of interest to us. And if ICANN believes that that your organization might be a good fit, there may be financial support available. All of this information is available on the Coalition for Digital Africa website, including the expression of interest survey form. So we will be plugging all of those links and information into the chat. So please go check that out. It has all of the qualification and eligibility criteria there, information about the limited financial assistance that might be available. And we are asking organizations to submit their expression of interest by the 15th of April, so later this month. At that point, they will all be evaluated, and applicants, those who have submitted an expression of interest, will be contacted by ICANN to discuss further to see if they are a good fit for this. So we hope that some of you may be interested in this. Please spread the word to others who you think might be interested in the region in doing something like this. And the rest of our call here today is really to answer questions that you might have. So we have a great team, our engagement team, technical folks from ICANN in the region in Africa. Our engagement colleagues are here to answer your questions. So with that, Yavi, I think I'll pass it back to you and we can go ahead with the question and answer.
Thank you so much, Brian. And then we have questions already in the Q&A session. Some of them were answered, but I will ask this question again so that those who are not following maybe in Zoom can also get this answer. So the first question we get was from Wafa Damani. Wafa, the question from Wafa was not very clear. Pierre tried to respond to Wafa because Wafa was saying, what is something is missing day of the IMRS instance that we should reach in Africa. I'm sure that Pierre also and my colleague Darrell will try to get what Wafa is trying to ask. So Wafa, we can give you the floor if you have the microphone, so you can ask your question, and then my colleague Darrell will add to what Pierre already posed as answer to the in the chat room. So Wafa, if you want to clarify, so we'll give you the microphone. You can clarify your question, and then we can ask our colleague Darrell to add to what Pierre already put in the chat. So Wafa, over to you, Wafa.
Okay, thank you, Yavi. Sorry, I missed a word to write a word in my question. The question is, do we have an objective, a number that does ICANN have a number as an objective of IMRS instances that should be in Africa? That was my question.
Darrell, you want to take that to the technical aspect? You want to take that, Darrell?
Sure, Yaobi. Thank you. From my perspective, I believe an initial goal for this project technically is that we would like to add about 10 instances in Africa. Of course, it's not necessarily the number of total instances, but really also the geographical distribution of those instances around the continent. So, for example, it's less important for us to add 10 instances in one country than it is for us to add one instance in 10 different countries. So we'd like to distribute the instances as much as we can. Thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Yes, okay, thank you. I think I didn't see in the presentation, for example, the geographical instance where the instances are in Africa. So we can perhaps add on that in our regions.
Oh, okay. So, Darrell, over to you.
Yeah, thank you. Yes, that's a good point. What I will do is this information is publicly available via our website. I'll post a link to that in the chat right now. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Darrell, and thank you, Wafa. I want to take the second question where which one you already answered. Can you provide the requirement specification for the hardware, Darrell? Thank you.
Yes, I will answer that verbally, and I also put a link to the answer in the chat. The hardware is a 1RU server, so it's very small in terms of height, and it has 101 gigabyte Ethernet network connectivity. Basically, we would ask for one port for production, and then another port for management for redundancy. Thank you.
Thank you, Darrell. We have a question for Matthew. If you also can share the answer to everyone. Matthew was asking, besides ICANN, who else is hosting these instances? If I host a server on behalf of another entity, is it beneficial to host for ICANN? Darrell, please.
Yes. So the specific question about could you repeat that again, Yovi? I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. So the main point is if I host it, who
Yeah.
else is hosting these instances? If I host a server on behalf of another entity, is it beneficial to host for ICANN? That is the question for Matthew.
Yeah, so the answer is a little bit complicated. What I would say is I would encourage you to apply, and through the application process, we can evaluate whether it's appropriate. The answer could be yes, depending on the size of your network and the distribution of traffic. It may well be appropriate to have multiple operators in the same organization, multiple root operators. Thank you.
Thank you. Before continuing, I want to mention that we can also type the question in the chat. We can type the question in French. We'll try to read the question, and the interpretation service will help our colleague to have your answer. If you don't worry, if your question is also in French, you can type it in the Q&A section. So the next question is anonymous. What volume of traffic is to be expected, Darrell?
Yes, typically because we have so many of these root instances spread around the internet, each individual instance does not see that much traffic. In general, I would think that a given root instance, each one sees less than a megabit of traffic at any given time. Of course, that can vary depending on the status of the internet and whether that clients and resolvers have connectivity to other routes, and whether they're only talking to the ICANN root IMRS. So in general, it's a very low volume but important piece of infrastructure. Thank you.
Thank you, Darrell. There is a question about a specification VM option. So can you respond, and also, if possible, put some link in the chat for that question from Hendrik? What a hardware specification and VM option? This is from Hendrik, this question. Thank you.
Yeah, yes, and I see the notes there around the hardware not being on the website, but so I'll try and get a working link for that to answer. But in general, no, we do not support a virtualized infrastructure. We securely manage the image of the operating system as well as the DNS software. And so in order for us to ensure that the security and resiliency of the system is optimal, we specify the hardware and then we image the hardware, and then we use a service to ship it to the location. So all of that is done by the DNS engineering team. And so that's why we're very specific about which hardware that we're available to buy. And that is a part of the process of the application to provide all the exact details of that. But like I said, I'll find some further information for the chat. Thank you.
Thank you. Henrik was also interested in the cost. Do you have the cost information? He mentioned the cost is not on the website. An idea of the cost of the equipment?
Brian, do you have the latest information on the costing?
Brian, I can say that it is about the Calypso. There is one Calypso which is about without the shipping, custom cost. It should be around 2,000, between 2,500 and 3,000 US dollars. This is what I know so far, but Brian, go ahead to add more information about this cost, the information. This is what I know so far, because ICANN is not the one We were just linking interested people to the vendor. So, Brian, over to you for more information.
Yes, no, I concur, Yavi, that's correct. The cost is around 3,000 US dollars, and if you are, I guess, selected after submitting an expression of interest, and it sounds like from both ends, both parties, ICANN and the eligible organization interested in hosting, um, uh, would like to move forward, we'll be asking the organization to purchase and arrange for the shipping and delivery of the equipment to the organization. And then once that is done and the equipment is acquired by the host, then it'll be, I guess, deployed and set up virtually by ICANN's engineering team. So that's the process. I'll give a little bit more while you're asking here. Thank you for the questions, Heinrich. There is limited funding I mentioned previously, and this is going to be made to eligible organizations in the form of a refund. So it will be after the purchase of the equipment by the organizations. Essentially, we'll be asking then for these organizations to submit receipts for the equipment purchase and shipping costs, et cetera, to ICANN, and then a reimbursement would be made. Again, this is for, it's a limited opportunity for qualified organizations. So hope that helps, Heinrich. And again, thank you for your questions.
Yeah, thank you, Brian. And there is a question from Mawazi Odoa. I think many people on this call are interested to know what benefits does my organization get by hosting IMRS instance? What benefits? So, Brian Darrell?
Yeah, I'll take an answer for that from a technical perspective. So the essential answer here is that the benefits that you receive by hosting a IMRS system are, from a technical standpoint, are shared with the benefits that everyone in your region that has connectivity that has access to that server provides. In other words, you are ensuring that you have a fast response to DNS queries, and that having a fast response to DNS queries will help ensure that your applications are working as fast as possible. In other words, that you will never have to wait for DNS resolution. And the benefit to that in the common case is probably very minor, but in the case of a regional or a countrywide internet outage, there could be very much benefit to it. So I would look at it and to say that there is a modest benefit locally, but globally there's a great benefit for it technically. Thank you. And Brian, you may want to add some organizational and other benefits.
No, nothing to add. Really, Daryl, thank you for explaining that. There's, again, more information on the dedicated website and the Coalition for Digital Africa website about this specific initiative opened right now. So we really encourage folks to go there. And there's additional information, again, also about the benefits, not only to the host organizations, but to the region and the network using the internet and benefiting from these single instances. I think I saw Pierre, my colleague Pierre, with his hand up. I would love to hear from Pierre on this too.
Yes, Darren. Yes, Darren. I had a question. By the way, this is not my question, but things that I heard from our engagement in the different countries is the link you might find between the instances, the MRS, for instance, and the internet exchange points, where most of the networkers or ISPs, tend to co-locate their services, that people are thinking probably the IMRS or the other instances might make a difference. What's your take on that sort of question?
Darrell, can you?
Sure. Pierre, thanks for catching that. Yes, I do remember there was a question around IXPs that I had missed, though. So, Pierre, thank you for highlighting that. Yes, so we look at a number of different types of organizations as being a really good candidates for hosting an IMRS instance. Some of those are what we refer to as enterprise or government organizations or universities. Some of those are internet service providers. And within the internet service provider category, we can talk about internet exchange points. So for these internet exchange points, we in general do not place these hosts on the exchange point itself. But if the exchange point operator would like to host us, just like any other organization, we're happy to talk to them about it. So we can work with an internet exchange point, but we don't place the servers directly on the fabric of the exchange point. Hope that clears some of that.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you, Darrell.
One more thing. These are great comments about this. And if there's any question whatsoever about whether the possibility to host an IMRS system, it's worth having a dedicated conversation, and Yovi and I will be happy to engage directly. So if there's any question whatsoever, let's talk more.
Thank you, Darrell. We mentioned we are talking about IXP, and there is an ISP in Nigeria. The question is, we are an ISP in the northern part of Nigeria. Can we host? That is a question to Brian and to Darrell.
I mean, I think potentially yes, and we'd be happy to talk further. Thank you.
Okay. A question linked to that. What are the requirements on the hosting regarding security? This is from, sorry for me not mentioning your name very well. So over to you, Brian, for that security aspect.
I think I'll answer that as well, Yovi. The most important aspect for the hosting partner for us is that they implement what's called a best common practice for network security. And this is a standard best common practice referred to as best common practice number 38. And it involves providing filtering to make sure that packets that are entering your network are only destined for your network, as well as do not come from your own network. So it's essentially the technical term for this is anti-spoofing. And so it's a basic set of filtering that we recommend. And I'll post a link to the BCP 38 technical specification into the chat right now. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Darrell. Before we continue, Brian, you mentioned that there is a deadline, 15th of April. Do you think that if someone want to apply now, it is late? Because I don't know how many documents, how many pages this person has to fill. Brian, do you think that we still have time to apply before the deadline? Thank you.
Hi, Yavi. Thank you. Actually, yes, there's plenty of time. I would really encourage everyone to go to those pages. It's really not that long of a form. It just asks basic questions about your organization, where you are located, who will be your technical and contact points in potentially working together with ICANN. And asks about, what's your current infrastructure and, readiness to take on the role of hosting an IMRS single. So please go ahead and go to that page, and there's, I think, plenty of time. It should only take you a little bit of time to fill out the information. And then once we have that, and if ICANN then needs more information from you, we'll be setting up sort of follow-up meetings and calls with interested organizations and hosts, where we can really dive into specific questions that your organization might have that are unique to you. So yeah, we really want to encourage folks to submit those expressions of interest if there is any interest at all, and then we can learn more about each other and about this program. So thanks Yavi. And
Okay, Brian, you mentioned we share information about the support. We talk about, like, people are asking about the course, we provide information, but Ismail Wadrago, he's asking, does ICANN support financially the hosting of the instance? And he's mentioning power consumption, maintenance, bandwidth. So this detail, can you and Darrell provide answer to that? Thank you.
Yes, Yaovi. In general, we ask the hosting to provide the power, the space, and the bandwidth. And then what we do is we maintain and monitor the system, and we provide reports and information about the utilization of the system publicly. But that's in general how we work. And I'll let Brian answer the exceptions to that for this campaign. Thank you.
Brian?
Yeah, no, not too much more to add on what Daryl said with respect to this opportunity. And again, you can learn more on the website. There is, as I mentioned before, some limited financial support available for eligible organizations for the purchase of the equipment itself, and the shipping costs, et cetera, customs to get the equipment to your organization to where it will be hosted. But and then with that purchase, and Daryl, you can correct me, of the new equipment, that will come with I think a 5-year maintenance sort of warranty that will be under the organization's name, which can help with upkeep of the equipment itself. But aside from the potential support to purchase the equipment, it will be the responsibility of the host organization for power and things like that. So I hope that's helpful.
Yeah, thank you, Brian. I think that is what Darren mentioned. But I have a question to Darrell. You mentioned BGP at the beginning, network. You mentioned network. If an organization want to host, and this organization currently doesn't have a BGP connection, things like that, is it still possible for an organization willing to host to apply?
Hi, Yovi. I think it's best that if the organization does not use BGP today, and then the best thing that they should do is maybe contact their internet service provider who is running BGP and ask them to apply. So it's really a situation where we would happy to garner your support, and we feel it's important. But we have a certain, basic requirements for the host, and those include routing IPv4 and IPv6 via BGP, announcing the ICANN managed root servers autonomous system, and of course those security filtering practices that I mentioned earlier today. So yeah, unfortunately, we do require the hosting organization to be a BGP speaker, if you will. And that's kind of that restriction is in place because we have hundreds of systems, and we want to make each system to look like all the others in order for us to be able to manage them at scale. Thank you.
Thank you. I no, there's no more question in the chat. But what I can hear from you, Darrell, is that even if an organization is not ready, the objective of this webinar is to go and share back the information, because we have seen the benefit not for the organization only, but the country, the area, the region. So it's important for us to share the information. We'll share the webinar recording, but I will have also the link we'll have the link for the application in the chat. So my colleague Brian will help us to have the link of the application page, so that we can go to this application. So thank you, Lucky. Lucky was asking, can we get a recording of this? Thank you, Lucky, for helping to share. So the team will share the recording. So after the call, we'll be in position to share with you. Thank you so much. If someone wants to raise his hand, feel free to raise your hand. We'll give you the opportunity for any comment, any additional question. A question from Isa: is there a portal we can see distribution and utilization of the IMRS? So my colleague Darrell mentioned that before. There is a link, open link. When you go, you can have this information. So we'll try to see how to collect all these links that have been posted in a chat, add to the recording you can get. So the question to Isaac is that, yes, this information about the traffic, about the distribution, they are publicly available. Darrell, can you confirm that? Thank you, Darrell.
Yes, and I'm putting the link into the chat just now. But essentially, it's all found at stats.dns.icann.org. I'll put the link in the chat now.
Thank you. We have the hand raised from Ismail. Want to add something with his voice, so we can open the microphone from to Ismail Wodrago. To Ismail, you can talk, Ismail.
Okay, thank you very much. I think I've heard that you mentioned you have only 16 instances in Africa. Is that right?
I believe that.
Darrell?
Yes, I believe that's correct, and that includes some located on islands and off the coast, etc.
All right. You've also provided a link. I think it's rootservers.org, where we can check this, but I'm not sure if I understand the information there. There is a map and it shows the instances, but there the number of instances is way more than what you said. Like I can see at least 88 instances that it shows on the map. So I was confused.
Yeah, thank you for raising that. So that number of 16 that I mentioned is the ICANN managed root servers, and the ICANN is one of 13 different root server operators, and therefore, if you combine them all together, you get that total number on the root server. The reason why we have 13 different organizations hosting root servers is that it's so critical to the internet that we want no one organization to have all of the servers themselves, and this provides resiliency. The operators are independent, and in our kind of philosophy with this is that we would like that the ICANN managed root server system be able to handle the entire internet if it needed to. So that's why we're so kind of focused.
Okay. So if I understand correctly, ICANN is one of the 13 organizations that are hosting root servers, and this program is only supported by ICANN. This is only ICANN which is doing it, and ICANN has like 16 instances in Africa, and they want to multiply those instances. Is that right?
That is absolutely correct. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
So we have 8 minutes left before we ask the Vice President to close this meeting. So we want to give the floor to Mr. Isaac. Mr. Isaac, you have the microphone.
All right, thank you very much. I wanted to find out if which alphabets the ICANN host for the root service.
Brian?
Hi, I didn't quite hear the question.
Okay, the answer is the L root, the L root.
Oh, no, the alphabet.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry. Yes.
It is the L, Isaac.
Okay.
Thank you. More question, or that is fine? So I see there is no more question from the chat, and also no more hand up. So and we have just 6 minutes left. So please feel free to send any comment, question to the email provided in the chat, which is gscafrica@icann.org. So any additional question, you can send that to this. We'll make the recording available. And then also colleagues mentioned that even if you are not in position to host, we suggest you share the information with other organizations. So we can, the email, we can put it again, gscafrica@icann.org. That is the email. Ismail is asking the question. On the other hand, we can give 5 minutes back to you because you are busy. But before that, we can have the Vice President make his final remark. And thank you before we close this session. So with your permission, I want to hand over to the Vice President, Pierre Dandino.
Thanks, Yaovi, and thanks everyone for this quite interesting, webinar. I do hope that by this time you all understand the IMRS, which is the ICANN managed, root server. That you also understand this project that we have, which is about, increasing the instances in Africa. Of course, you need to apply if you are interested. Hope you understand the criteria. And if you haven't, please, you can always get back to us. Yavi and the rest of the team, they are available to provide any type of support, because we are here to support. Definitely, it's about the resiliency of the whole system. You could apply to host for your company, of course, but also for your community. With that, thanks very much again. And have a nice day. And take care.
Thank you. End of the
Bye-bye.
webinar.
Recording stopped.